Welcome back to Around the Clock and our Selectmen's Update. We had a very full meeting on February 18th. Didn't go very long, but a lot of good information. We had a presentation from Beth Rosenblum, who is the chair of the Community Preservation Committee and also the chair of the Conservation Restriction Working Group. For Community Preservation Committee, Beth gave us an update on the public hearings they've had for articles coming before town meeting in May. Most of them are routine funding for the bonding for various projects, Warren Woods, Oak Street, and the high school. Then, for the Conservation Restriction Working Group, she let us know where they are on a project to get a conservation restriction in place for the Oak Street property. The Oak Street property is in back of the Oak Street apartments and abuts the town forest. So they're looking to put a restriction on that so that it will stay open space and can't be developed. And we'll get more about that later in the year. We had a resignation, unfortunately, from our Ashland Cultural Council. There was a member who no longer could serve because they had moved out of town. And so if you're interested, reach out to Bonnie Mitchell, who is the chair of the Ashland Cultural Council, to see if you'd like to get involved. We had 2 positions announced by our town manager, Anthony Schiavi. We have a new library assistant helping with circulation at the Ashland Library, and that is Miss Ashley Place. And then with the restructure and the retirement of our past fire chief, William Key, we had movement up the ladder. So Scott Boothby, who was our captain, is now our chief. Keith Roby, who was one of our lieutenants, is now our captain. One of our other officers moved up to lieutenant, and we have hired 2 replacements. We have George Voorhees and John Bravelli, who are joining the fire department within the next couple of weeks. So welcome to them and to being part of our Ashland Fire Department. We also talked about the regional fire presentation. Thanks to the snow, it was supposed to be happening on February 9th, which of course was a Monday snowstorm, and it got canceled. So that presentation is going to be happening on February 23rd. Hopefully you'll be seeing this and you'll have had the opportunity to attend and find out the information about the regional fire with Hopkinton that we've been talking about for a while. We've had a request for noise variance, same mistake I made at the meeting, by an organization who brings snow in from other places, and we talked about that, so they'll be getting that. We had a declaration of surplus, and we had an acceptance of gifts. Much thanks to Ed Berman from our police department for reaching out to an anonymous donor who has given some technology to the police department and also to some of the schools, and then helping us go through some of our older technology that we're going to be giving away as surplus. We got an update on the fiscal 15 budget through the town manager, and we are on a spending freeze. We had some changes to our cherry sheet, so Chapter 70 and charter school reimbursement, that's money that comes from the state because the state is having such a large budget deficit. We do feel it here in town. And then, of course, because of all this wonderful snow, we had a real hit to our snow and ice budget. Our original budget was about $385,000, and we have spent over $500,000. And unfortunately, we don't see any signs of spring just yet. So we will see more hitting that budget and having to figure out how we're going to pay for that. Which leads us to our fiscal 2016 budget update. I'm sure if you are in the schools, you've been getting some information from Jim Adams, our superintendent. Unfortunately, as a community right now, we only have a certain amount of income and new revenue that comes in. So between the schools and general government and school committee, board of selectmen, and FinCom, there'll be some still further discussions as to how we're going to utilize the funds that we have and talk about how we want to move forward in the future as a community. And it really is a community discussion. We need your input. We need your feedback as to what changes or non-changes or tax inputs or tax effects that you want to see or don't want to see. So please give us all the feedback that you want. We have applied for a SAFER grant. It is a Staffing Adequate Fire and Emergency Response grant, and it ties into some of the discussions that we're having regarding the regional fire that we're doing. And just as a community, we have not added new fire positions in many years, at least 10 and possibly more. We had to cut a number of years back. So as a community, we need to find ways to possibly increase the number of firefighters that we have, which again ties into the regional fire discussion. We are in the middle of preparing for our annual town meeting, which happens on May 6th, I believe it is. It's the first Wednesday. And we actually got some good news. Keefe Tech, we are part of that program. They did a roof project just like we did here in town, and we got some money back. They didn't need as much as they thought they did, so we got a refund. And I'm sure that will go to help pay some of our other expenses that we have here in town. So again, a somewhat brief meeting, always great to give you an even briefer update. That's the Selectmen's update here at Around the Clock. So stay tuned, and we'll be back with our first guest, Maddie Schott.